With the release of Starfield, it never fails that somebody jumps into our streams and says, I can't wait for a Star Wars total conversion. And while I'm right there with them, and it totally makes sense for my channel, it's gonna be a while before we see big content mods drop beyond, weapons, gear, and replacers. As fun as those are gonna be, we've even seen stormtroopers already running around New Atlantis. But this has got me thinking. There are a ton of Star Wars mods already available. Many total conversions we've been covering here on the channel for years. So let's make a quick list of some of my favorites. Not all of these have been released, and technically some of these are actually mod collections turning a game into a total conversion. But I digress. Let's get on with the list of Star Wars total conversions.
North Spire is under attack by the Sith. Get your things out of your locker and find a way to open that door!
Starwind, the Morrowind conversion. Starting with actually a new mod for an old game, Starwind is a total conversion for the classic Morrowind built on top of OpenMW. An open source fan-built, more modern engine that has endlessly extended the life of the classic Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. We'll cover that in a later video. For now, let's focus on the Star Wars. Starwind is set in the Old Republic era, during the events of Knights of the Old Republic. Their 3.1 version just released just a few months ago, bringing with it 200 new quests, 31 playable races, 150 new weapons, and lots of planets to explore, from Kashyyyk all the way to, well, eventually, Nim's Lock. Features include owning your own freighter, traveling through space, mounts fit for the world space, mini-games like Pazak, new factions such as the Sith Fleet, the Bartenders Guild, which I love the concept of, bounty hunters of Nar Shaddaa. And while this does take place during the events of KOTOR, you're not playing the same character as that story. You're running a parallel story to the original game. With one of the plots focusing on you and your crew, yes, there are followers and companions, helping rebuild and establish a new government on what remains of Taurus. Crazy to think that this is all built by a passionate group of fans on top of another fan project. The modding community really is amazing. Let's get something a little more actiony and shooty in here. Galactic Contention for Squad. I know a lot of people are gonna recognize this one. It's Star Wars, it's Squad. That's not really doing it justice. It's probably the most epic multiplayer experience you can currently have in a galaxy far, far away. Set in the Clone Wars era, you'll find yourself hot dropping from a lat into a meat grinder or a recycler if you're playing as the droids. With Squad's focus on realism and teamwork being transferred over, it's a stunning experience. I know there's tons of YouTube shorts and TikTok videos showing just bits and pieces of it. There are dozens of great videos covering this one, so we won't spend any more time on it, but I do recommend you check it out just for the stunning visual quality and sound design. If you're into multiplayer and you can manage to get into a server that's not full, yeah, that's a problem right now. Empire at War. Okay, don't run off just yet. I know I've talked about this game endlessly for over a decade. Running through this really quick, Empire War is a classic RTS I've covered for a while, but it does have some of the finest total conversions that bring the game into the 2020s, while also bringing into more than just the Galactic Civil War era. Did I mention Republic at War is back under production and is getting a new update soonish? Check out some of the art. Thank you, Arvis and Karak, for sharing these. They look amazing, and I can't wait to see this venerable old mod being updated once again. This was the first mod we ever covered for Empire at War. Republic at War brings the Empire at War into the Clone Wars era, and it's the OG of mods, and I'm really happy to see it coming back. We've also got Thrawns Revenge, which is a classic old mod that's still getting updates today over by Corey from Corey Loses, and is based on the Galactic Civil War from the old canon. We got Battlefront Commander, great mods, some unique mechanics there. Awakening the Rebellion, of course, which is what I'm currently doing a Let's Play of, which is a more modernized version of the base game with some very cool combat balance and mechanics. Fall of the Republic, which is Thrawns Revenge Team's answer to the Clone Wars era of mods. Okay, that's enough about Empire at War. I'm not giving these mods nearly enough justice for what they actually do for the base game, but if you want to see or play some fun RTSs in Star Wars universe, Empire at War is where it's at. Base game is super cheap and there are tons of mods for it. Let's get freaky with our total conversions. What is a game that has no business being turned into a Star Wars mod? How about a medieval open world sandbox game? Yep, Conquest for old school Mountain Blade is worth a look. Building up an army of whatever you can imagine, then running rampant on a galaxy map, an actual galaxy map. You can even buy ships that affect your travel speed. So if we're talking about Mountain Blade, might as well talk about Bannerlord. There's a Star Wars total conversion of the works for that too, and it already has a gear pack release over on the Nexus. But we haven't seen anything like a custom Galactic map. It's such a unique and bizarre mod. Keep an eye out for that one. I will link a ModDB page down in the description. Can't talk about total conversion Star Wars mods without mentioning the X series, specifically my favorites, X3LU and X4 Interworlds. X3, Albion Prelude, is the base game. It was one of the most modded X games to ever come out in the long-running X series, which are a 4X space sim empire building series of games. One of the best total reworks of X3 Albion Prelude is called Lit Cubes mod, which adds all kinds of new deeper mechanics and mostly focuses on making the universe much more of a simulation. X3LU, Star Wars, turns it into a Star Wars game. From adding a new custom universe map and custom systems to replacing all of the ships and hundreds of new models, each flyable and commandable, it's one of the few games, one of the few franchises, where you actually feel like you're the commander of a large-scale ship, like a Star Destroyer. And it feels like a proper ISD, fighters inside it all. So X3 is the old title, and we've had the sequel for a bit now, X4. With a number of expansions officially released so far, X4 Interworlds is a mod we have covered for a few years now, with a new version coming out normally like 3 to 6 months after the DLC drops, and there is an update on the way for X4 Interworlds to go with the new DLC that we've had recently released. And it's getting close to release. Right now, this is as close as you'll get to a Starfield mod with interiors and exteriors for starships, with a massive number of ships that you can play right now while waiting for the big Starfield mods to drop. Highly recommend this one. There's just something so fun about standing on the bridge of a ship and watching a battle play out through the windows. With so many large mods, I'm hardly doing each of these justice, so please check them out for more details, or just look them up on the channel. I've probably done detailed videos on them. A game that's very close to my heart as a Star Wars total conversion is, oddly enough, XCOM 2. We've done 2 full community campaigns using a giant list of mods to turn it into a total conversion. Everything from blasters to armor, missions, races. The core of this pack is the Advent to Galactic Empire mod, which swaps out every enemy in the game to an Imperial equivalent, truly giving you the feeling of fighting off an Imperial invasion of your homeworld. They even have the Saber Tank, Inquisitors, Mandalorians, and ATSTs to ruin your day. I will leave a link to my introduction to this mod list below. Check the mods to make sure that they've had recent updates. It has been a while since we've done this campaign, but it is worth a playthrough. It is so much fun. There are 2 games I have yet to do full campaigns in, but have full Star Wars total conversion. Kenshi and RimWorld. I've owned them both for years, but I just haven't dived in yet. Kenshi has Project Kathun, or Kathun, which converts the wasteland to, well, what looks like Star Wars galaxies. And once reading the actual description, he even says very much closely resembles the MMO from the early 2000s. The devs set out to build a unique Star Wars experience, and I'd say they succeeded. With custom races, new animations, new quests, including Jedi Sith focus, so you can side with the Empire, you can buy an ATST and become a Dark Jedi. What will your story hold? This is one of those that I have every intention of diving in and playing at some point. Just like RimWorld. There's a modding pool for RimWorld that just never seems to have a bottom to it, and I'm just starting to dip my toes in. But with a full faction and racial replacers, weapons, and now vehicles are a thing with the vehicle system, how long till we see a RimWorld colony with T-47s engaging Imperial AT-ATs to protect their colony? I don't know, but there's a ton of mods that are Star Wars related that you can turn your RimWorld game into a Star Wars campaign. Keep an eye out for a RimWorld story series coming out soon on the channel. All right, this script's gotten way too long, so let's speed it up. Star Wars Frontlines, the Galactic Civil Wars era mod that's for Company of Heroes, the original. Total conversion it's being developed at a glacier pace. Every time I think it's a dead mod, it gets an update like 2 months later. It's got 2 factions, most of the mechanics are already in, and you can play in skirmish. It's quite fun. Stellaris, we're gonna briefly go over this one. There are tons of Star Wars mods. If you love 4X, you probably already own Stellaris. You've probably already seen the simple stuff like ship packs and weapon packs. There is a total conversion called Legacy of the Old Republic, set in the Old Republic era, with custom events and a giant custom map. There's also an old total conversion called Galaxy Divided, but that's for a much older version of Stellaris. Honestly, your best bet's probably just to grab the big combat overhauls, find some racial and ship packs, and just go ham. Fallout New Vegas has a total conversion mod that's been in the works for a few years called Open Worlds. I've been keeping an eye on this one for a while now, and it's damn cool. New Vegas has always had a strong modding community, and while I can't help but assume Starfield has slowed things down for the production of this, Even Tank Girl, one of the lead devs, has been posting her early Starfield mods this past week. I'm really excited for this one. The planets that they've shown so far look super detailed for this old engine. Not to mention, all the weapons are there. They even have deployable defense turrets in one of their demo videos, which is quite cool. The old Rebel versions that you see on Hoth. There's a lot of neat teasers. If you want to keep up with the development on this one, you can head over to their Discord and check it out. I'll put a link in the description. Sins of a Solar Empire is getting an honorable mention here. We have covered the mods for this one over the last decade. We're talking about Interregnum, which is a total conversion, has lots of factions to play as, and Thrawns Revenge 2, the same team, making Thrawns Revenge for Empire War. This is Corey again. This is if you've never played Sins, it's a great 4X strategy title that is in real time, and it has a great scale to it, zooming all the way out and back in, seeing the entire galaxy that you're fighting over. But cool. Homeworld is probably one of my all-time favorite space-based RTSs, and it does have a total conversion for it called the Warlord mod. But sadly, the mod never got much more development beyond what we got in the original game, and then that got ported over to the remaster that Gearbox put out years ago. Still, it's fun to play around in, having command of a large array of warships in a 3D environment, which is a new experience for Star Wars RTS titles. I hope we see more modders support the upcoming release of Homeworld 3, which I had a recent chance to actually play a vertical slice of. That's right, I've gotten a chance to play Homeworld, and it was a lot of fun. I'll put a link, again, in the corner, clickety-bit. My very first mod spotlight on this channel, I'm just gonna mention, was a conversion mod for FTL. Over 11 years ago, bringing it into the Star Wars and Star Trek universe. Please do not go back and watch that video. It is horrible, recorded on a terrible microphone, but I had to throw it in here just for the nostalgia's sake. There are thousands of Star Wars mods out there, and many of them completely change how a game is played, or at least the vibe that it has. What's your favorite? Do you have something that I've never heard of? Let me know in the comments. I look forward to seeing them and reading them. Thank you all for watching. May the Force be with you, and I will see you next time. Later, everybody.
Space!